Hello, welcome to the Stoic Campfire. In our fast-paced world, it's often hard to remember times to slow down, to think, to contemplate. I invite you to sit and contemplate and ponder with me as long as you have time to. So, the topic of today's episode is the importance of remaining in the present. Do you ever feel angry or upset with yourself? Do you ever feel like you are the reason you can't get anything right? Do you ever feel hopeless? Do you ever have times where you feel like, truthfully, you can't get out of a rut? Every single time you try harder and harder and harder, you end up beating yourself down and getting upset with yourself. During times like this, I often go through many bouts of borderline depressive episodes where I feel like I can't get anything right. I feel like I can't accomplish the purpose I want. And in many times like that, I tend to get very, very hard on my own case. I tend to yell at myself, belittle myself, and truthfully, this cycle was something that I continued for most of my life. It wasn't until recently that I discovered a quote by Epictetus that truthfully addressed this in the best way I could think of. An ignorant person is inclined to blame others for his misfortune. To blame oneself is proof of progress, but the wise man never has to blame another or himself. I've found in life, especially more recently, that blaming oneself very seldomly accomplishes anything. If you think about it, if you're putting yourself down constantly, you're getting angry with yourself, you're losing momentum. You're losing the ability and the strength to complete the project that you want to get done. You're losing the ability to get done what you've been yelling at yourself for the last few days that you've wanted to accomplish. Blaming yourself doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do anyone around you any good. In fact, it hurts you and prevents you from progressing. Rather, it's important that we take a moment to breathe, look at what you have to do, and then space it into bite-sized chunks. Oftentimes, we look so far forward into the future that we forget the present. We forget what's in front of us. We forget that we have time. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. Marcus Aurelius. In a very similar concept, we need to think about what we have right now. We often get so worked up about, I have this due in a week, I have this due in a month, I have this due in 6 months, I have this due in a day. And rather than sitting down and saying, what do I need to do right now to accomplish this? We often say, I can't believe I let myself get this close to the deadline. I can't believe I haven't put in as much work as I can. In this regard, looking back to the past and judging yourself for your past decisions truthfully doesn't accomplish anything. Now, there's nothing wrong with looking to the past and saying, I could have done this better, and analyzing your behaviors so that you don't make the same mistake. However, belittling yourself and dogging yourself for your past decisions does nothing for you. In fact, it hurts you and prevents you from getting what you need to get done. A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than it is necessary. Seneca. In the same regard, we oftentimes will look at the things in front of us, we will look at the things around us, and begin to get upset. And as a result, when we suffer and think and get anxiety about the future, we are putting ourselves into suffering that we don't need to. Oftentimes in life, we suffer in our imagination more than in reality. Seneca. It is the exact same thing. We need to take that step back, remember where we are, and move accordingly. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't plan for the future. I found in my own life that planning and coming up with ideas for the future is smart, but not being so held onto them that I get upset when they don't happen. In preparing for battle, I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. General Eisenhower. It is a very similar regard. We must come up with plans and contingency plans. If this doesn't work, we have backups. However, planning is part of that process. If we just sit and say, this is my plan, I'm going to follow it perfectly, it'll fall apart. No plan survives first contact with the enemy. Helmuth von Moltke the Elder. It doesn't matter what you're facing in life. If you are so hell-bent that you are going to have one plan that'll work all the time, every day and that it won't fall apart, you're always going to be disappointed. You'll always be upset. That's why it's important for us to manage our expectations. It's important for us to take a step back and realize what we have. As a result, if you want to, in the future, be a successful businessman, you must come up with, how do I do that? And then, if this goes wrong, if parts of this plan, what will be my backups? What will be my contingencies? And then, as a result, if you do have one of those shortcomings, if you do have one of those problems, you're ready. There's another famous Stoic quote. When problems befall me, should I say I was not ready for this? Or should I say, I have been training for this? I have been preparing for this? Seneca. It's very similar in that regard. Create contingency plans for when things fall apart inevitably, or if something might fall apart. So then if it does fall apart, you're ready. And if it doesn't, you're still ready. It goes to the old quote that I think everyone has heard. Prepare for the worst, but most importantly, hope for the best. In this regard, you will never be disappointed. You will never be upset. It allows you to manage your expectations and allows you to manage the things that are coming forward towards you. And then likewise, you can deal with them appropriately. Thank you for listening to this episode. I will talk to you guys next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.